to order. Good evening, thanks for coming. Spring is here, and it's good to see everybody out in this nice weather. Sir, do we have any citizens downstairs that want to address the board?
No, sir, we do not.
All right, thank you. So there's no public comment. Did you receive any?
No correspondence
No,
this time.
all right, well, thank you. Could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Koselecki.
Here.
Mr. Austin.
Here.
Reverend Bailey.
Here.
Ms. Clymer.
Here.
Ms. Guzman. Not here. Sheriff Hill.
Here.
Chief Keen is absent tonight. Ms. Lennox. Not here. Mr. Newsham. Chief Newsham.
Here.
Ms. Smith.
Here.
Mr. Torres.
Here.
We have a quorum, sir.
Thank you, ma'am, thank you. Could I get a motion to approve the agenda for March 16th?
So moved. Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Could I get a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting that was on January the 19th, 2022?
So moved.
Second, all right, any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Mr. Superintendent.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Thanks for coming. All right, let me go over to page 13. The population page. If you go down to the second section, first 8 months this year from July, average daily population of 508. And down in the further section, where we go back 12 months from now, 525. So it's going up a little bit there, average daily population. Transfers to the state system was not very good in January or February. I can tell you on March, the state system took 26 inmates in one day. They had a big COVID outbreak in January and February, so they pretty well closed things down. Commits for January, 469, releases 457, process only 65, and they were released back to the community. In February, commits 500 and 595 releases. Process only was 51. You can see a couple of our meetings prior, the releases were higher than the commits. Now it just switched just a little bit. Department of Corrections out of compliance is down to 40, which is good. Over on page 14, the average daily population for the month of January was 484. And on page 15 for February, the average daily population was 479. Page 16, of course, that's our historical data all the way back to 1983, FY83. First 8 months was 508, system-wide count. We call it a system-wide count. We do not have inmates farmed out anywhere to other jurisdictions, so that's just the complex here in Manassas. Okay, our objectives. We have, first thing we need to talk about is the vacancies. We had 69 sworn vacancies, 12 vacant civilian positions, total of 81. We will be sending some of our HR people to a job fair over in Chantilly coming up, I think, in May. So they're going to be there for that. And we're also sending 4 of our HR staff down, one to Rappahannock and one in Norfolk for a couple days training on recruiting and things of those nature. So hopefully those things will help us out a little bit. Prison Rape Elimination Act, nothing to report. Career Development, 2 staff members assigned to Office of Professional Standards attended the Strategic Law Enforcement Interview class. One officer attended the report writing class for criminal and use of force. The main facility, we got here, completion date is in March. The repair project will be done in March, so that is good. And that was a big project, and it's turned out very well. Evidence-based decision-making policy team, enhancing data processes, expansion of Medicaid-assisted treatment for opioid. 34 inmates that are here now are given Suboxone. That's the treatment. And since October 19th, 2021, 384 boxes of Narcan have been given to inmates upon their release. About 19% of the inmates that got released wanted to take the Narcan with them. COVID, great news for COVID. You see we got 1 staff and 0 inmates. I can tell you today it's 0 staff, which is great news for us here. I think we 2 staff are home because of exposure. So we're moving in the right direction, which is great. We have opened up some things, attorney contact visits, some of our programs that have opened up, New Vista, which is special education class, GED, English as a second language, career and financial readiness, business basics, and Geo, our reentry classes, anger management, Spanish anger management, life skills, Spanish life skills, motivated to change, victim impact, drug dorm classes, mind dorm and the wind dorm, men in new direction, women in new direction, and work release. So we are starting to somewhat get back to normal there.
Chairman, question?
Sure.
So those services, are those being delivered, all of them or some of them, by the new contractor?
Yes. The bulk of them.
Okay.
Have you opened the religious?
We're heading toward that. We're just trying to keep an eye on COVID, but
Okay.
well, we're going in that direction. Religious services, yes, sir. All right. Let's see what else we got here. Geo Population Statistics, you have them. We did go through the graphs. We eliminated a graph or 2, consolidated some, so it can be more reasonable. We put a little color to it this time. Sabina did a great job with this. Your first one, Manassas Complex, past 24 months. I mean, you can look back. Of course, our high numbers was, if you go all the way back over the 982 in March of 19th, and then you see the last is 21, December 21, January 22, and February 22, and you do see our lowest numbers. And of course, COVID had a lot to do with that. We had some releases, the good programs, and overall, we've had quite a few releases out of our facilities. The second graph, we kind of put them all together here, all of our buildings. The central building is that tan color, and you'll notice the number that is. That's a very high number, 395 is in this building, and phase 2, which is part of this building. And we had to put them in there because the mod is still closed and the main is half open. So we'll be making some adjustments when the main opens up. Okay, and you got the blue, there's the main. You see the repair project because it is half closed. The population over there. And let's see. The red, of course, is mod closed, and work release. Very low number right now. We're struggling to find inmates who are qualifying for the program. Page 4, we talked about the releases to the Department of Corrections, January, February, 1 each. They've corrected that in March. Complex average daily population versus commits in the past 24 months. you kind of see they pretty level out with each other. November 21 and 22, they're very close, especially in January 22. We're kind of just staying flatlined a little bit right now. Complex versus system ADP. Well, like I told you before, we do not have any inmates farmed out to any other jurisdiction, so the red line would be the farm outs, but we're not doing that now, of course, based on our count. Commits by fiscal year. All right, you can go to 2019, and then you start seeing it going down when COVID hits. Well, the courts were closed and so forth. And as it heads down into 21 and 22, almost levels off somewhat. There's still a lot of unknown to that. We'll see how it works out. And the system ADP since 1998. The dotted line, that's a trend line from 1998 on up, on up, on up, and then it starts going down. Decreases in 2020.
I have a question.
Sure.
Do you correlate the drop in the work release with the fact that the sort of the trend has been for quicker release, that what you're seeing is the folks that don't qualify for work releases, because now what you have in this jail are the folks that are the high-risk individuals anyway, and a lot of the others are getting out on bond.
Correct.
You make that correlation? Yeah.
I do, sure. And Mr. Chairman, that's all I have.
Also, Superintendent, what you just talked about, how does that affect our workforce, inmate selection for our workforce?
Well, that's difficult too. I mean, the workforce go out with an officer, but there's still, it's still risk. And so we just can't put anybody of any serious nature out there in the community. So it certainly has affected that too, sir.
Thank you. Any questions for the superintendent concerning his report? Thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Next on the agenda will be our budget update.
Yes, the monthly budget status report for the commissary. Again, we are just starting up our program. We should see a lot more expenditures going forward. So nothing to report there. The commissary still has a very healthy balance, over $2 million. As far as the inmate account, we are February reconciled balance was just under 100,000. Our federal billing in January was a little higher than normal, and February was just one day at 84.63. Those are all U.S. Marshal inmates that we're holding here. We did receive reimbursement for phase 2 expansion. That was submitted back in December. The Treasury released, they also pay interest payments on that. So the county received $22,747,332.28 for the building, the new building, and we received $709,890.60 for the build out of the work release center, which was paid at 25%. And the other item is we have supplied the position to Department of Fire and Rescue for the resiliency position that we will be sharing with the Sheriff's Office. So that was supplied as of March 1st. So there's a hiring process, but that will go in before the next fiscal year. The next page, the operating revenue. Nothing really to report. Our inmate revenues are quite low. We are beneath the authorized number of positions from the comp board where we get partial salary reimbursement. So we will be trying to request those vacancy savings for office expenses and things, and so that we collect all of our state funding. Manassas is back up in percentage. For January was 12.3%, February 13.1%, and the year average at this point is 12.4%. And we also received our funding from the state for the one-time bonus that the legislature gave to our staff, for our sworn staff, in the amount of $923,637. And that was the bonus that was paid back in November 19th. So unless anyone has any questions, the expenditure right now.
We have a question?
I'm
Have a question,
sorry,
Carol?
I was too slow. How many positions below the comp board allocation is the current?
It changes.
Staff.
I think it's around 12. But obviously it changes as soon as we're trying to make the most of the positions, and we can get funding for some civilian positions, and we have those filled to the extent that we can. There are some that can go either sworn or civilian. The treatment positions that can go medical, so we've tried to make the most of it and fill them as quickly as we can.
Does that come into play at all when the comp board looks at how many positions we would get for the next fiscal year? Do they take that into consideration?
At this point, we were told that that wouldn't change. As of right now, we're not aware of any changes unless something occurs. I know the with the jail populations changing with COVID, I think they were reluctant to make any permanent changes too soon. Because it's much harder to put them back, as we know. So that may change next year, and it's something that we'll be communicating with them about.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Okay, and on the next page, on the expenditure page, again, nothing really to report specifically there. The year is going as expected, I would say. A lot of maintenance costs. This building that we're in right now is starting to require a lot of building maintenance items, but other than that, we're moving forward well. And that's all I have, unless.
all right, thank you, Carol. Any questions for Carol concerning our budget? Thank you, Carol, thank you. Moving right along, hopefully we can move through this meeting kind of quickly, all right? Jail board member comments. I think I'm gonna start with Delegate Guzman, because I know she's got some good news to tell us about Richmond concerning jail officers, salaries, and sheriff salaries, and all that good news.
Well, good evening, everyone. I wish I could have good news, but we were released on Saturday, and we don't have a budget yet.
Oh,
So I am afraid to give you good news that they might not be as good once we get the final budget. So we'll wait for the next meeting. Probably I'll have the final news. But I mean, both budgets include, you've seen salary increases. So we're hoping that that is going to go through. But until it's signed and at the governor's desk, then I'm afraid I don't have news as of yet. Thank you.
thank you. Mr. Kostelewski, any comments, sir?
Not tonight, no.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Mr. Torres? Mr. Torres? Yes, sir.
I pass on that.
All right, thank you. Ms. Clement?
Nothing for me.
Huh?
Thank you to Ms. McMahon and Superintendent Williams and Legal Counsel Pandak we've had several public defender needs and calls, and as always, you guys are very responsive, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
No comment, sir.
No comment, all right, thank you. Ms. Moore?
Not tonight. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
No, sir, no comments tonight.
Thank you. Chief?
No, sir.
No comment, wow. Ms. Pennick, do you have anything for us?
No, sir, I'm just going to give you the language for the motion on the next item.
All right, well, I think we have the language already. I think,
I don't know if you have it in front of you, but I can certainly
Ms.
tell
Smith
you what
has
it is.
I think,
Shall I do that?
Yes, she has it.
Yes.
I do have some comments.
Okay. Verlin.
My first one is, I went to a reunion for inmates that have been released from us over the last, I guess, 20 years, 10 years, 5 years. They had a reunion at Grace Life Community Church on February 19th. And it was so heartwarming to hear inmates talk about what the mine dorm and the jail had done for them, what they're doing now. It was just a great program. One of the former inmates suggested to our chaplain Perez to have something like that. It was probably 20 former inmates there, and probably 10 or 15 got up and spoke about how it changed their life. So it was a great program, great program. I toured the facility today with the superintendent. Everything seemed to be in order. Talked to a couple of inmates, talked to staff. You know, as a former superintendent, there was a couple of things I look for when I go into a facility. The first thing I do is listen for noise to see if the place is noisy, see if the place is clean. And I like to look staff in the eyes, because sometimes a person's eyes can tell you a story about what's going on, but everything seems to be in good order. Superintendent has a great staff. Everything is going well. I was certainly, superintendent mentioned the facility is wearing, and you talked about some maintenance things that need to be done. We looked at some showers, some of the things that probably need to be repaired. And in looking at the renovation of the old jail, they did a great job. Great job. The place looked like it's new when I first saw it 40 years ago. They've done some excellent renovations there, some slip-proof showers, some of the things that we didn't do from the beginning that they have done now. So certainly, I know you're going to get good use out of that. So thank you, Superintendent.
Yeah, our transition team with Captain DePoy and the maintenance department here and so forth that were involved in keeping an eye on that project and helping out with it. So what they did silicone the showers, and it keeps the mold away. It's great, and it's quite a repair project.
Very good, very good. On March 15th, which was yesterday, was the 40th anniversary for our superintendent. He's been here 40 years.
My goodness.
Holy cow.
Congratulations. Holy cow.
It's sort of, as most of you know, I was in charge of hiring staff at that time.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
I'll still tell you this story again. And when I called superintendent's house, he was not at home. And I talked to his wife, and she told me he's not here, but what time do you want to see him, and I will make sure he's there. And she brought him here and waited for him while I interviewed him. So that was 40 years ago. So thank you, Superintendent. You've done a great job over those 40 years. We've seen a lot happen over the last 40 years, and you've hung in there, and I'm proud of you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're a big part of it, Sheriff, because you hired us, and most of us didn't know what we obviously we hadn't been locked up in a jail before, or else we wouldn't have gotten hired, but none of us really knew what the heck a jail was on the inside, and we learned very quick, and
And I must say one thing that is kind of unique about our superintendent and a lot of staff here. They've had the opportunity to do things a lot of people in this business haven't had a chance to do. That is open facilities.
Yeah.
Write the policies for the facilities. Design facilities with architects. So y'all have had some opportunities to do some unique things in this business that a lot of people have not had an opportunity to do, and you've done a great job. You've done a great job. So thank you. That's all my comments.
Sheriff, can I ask you a question based on the comments? On the capital improvement project for the court system that the Board of County Supervisors is looking at right now, they've met with you. I mean, I'm assuming, are they integrating? I'm just wondering if any of these updates and stuff, because they're doing the whole courthouse refurbishment and update. Is the jail included in any of that sort of?
The jail would be, because we're certainly a user and we're already in place. I've seen some of those plans. I agree with some of them, some of them I don't, so
Mhm.
we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
Right.
but you guys, I was curious, you are engaged with all
Yes,
of
yes,
that,
we are.
right? Yes,
Yes.
okay.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Do we have a motion to go into closed session?
Yes, sir, we do.
Ms. Smith, I think she
You wanna
has.
do it? That's fine.
Yes, Ms. Smith.
This is
All right.
okay.
Do you want me to just read it?
Yes, please.
Okay. A motion to authorize a closed meeting, whereas the Prince William-Manassas Regional Jail Board desires to discuss in closed meeting the following matters. One, personnel matter, performance evaluation of the superintendent under Code Section 2.2-3711.A.1. Whereas pursuant to that code section, such discussions may occur in closed meeting. Now therefore be it resolved that the Prince William-Manassas Regional Jail Board does hereby authorize discussion of the aforesaid matters in closed meeting.
Thank you, second.
Second?
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Ms. Klein?
I think Sarah's ready.
Ready?
Yes, sir, you have the motion? Yes, sir.
We have a motion for certification of closed meeting, whereas Prince William-Manassas Regional Jail Board has convened in closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmed recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. And whereas Virginia Code 2.2-3712 requires a certification by the jail board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore be it resolved that the Prince William-Manassas Regional Jail Board hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, one, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification resolution applies, and two, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the jail board.
You good? Second.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Superintendent, you can invite the rest of the staff.
Yeah.
If they're here.
I think they went home.
You can Come on in.
I think they went home.
The last thing, we got one last thing to do.
Move to
Motion
adjourn?
to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
There you go.
Second.
Can I get a second?
Safely
All in
recoup.
favor? Thank you.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Board members.
Thank you for your help,
Thank you so
too.
much.
Thank you.